What I want to kind of share today as I'm going live is a little bit about myself, but then also about the broader topic of Black Whimsy will be what saves us. So, my name is Joy. I have a podcast on here called Hyperfixations Updated Daily. I did my very first episode last week. Was it last week? Today's Tuesday. It was Sunday. So I did my very first episode on Sunday. So that podcast actually is about kind of voice notes that I do, or ways that the friend that you have that is very passionate about something, so they'll send a ton of voice notes about something. So that in a podcast form, but also to kind of give my brain somewhere to put a lot of these conversations that may not be suitable, or maybe in the spaces that I want to have these conversations, everybody will be wanting to engage with, because I tend to talk about politics. I tend to talk about pop culture from the framing of a Black woman in America. I tend to talk about breaking news in a way that makes it more nuanced versus we just regurgitating what the people online are telling us to say. And one of the things that has really come to my attention more and more as the Voting Rights Act was essentially demolished. And because I also work in politics, it matters to me to be able to share these things and to talk about it from a very specific viewpoint, as well as not just add something to the fodder, but to, hey, you got that one friend that kind of makes sense of stuff, and you go to them to go like, girl, explain this. That tends to be me and my in my friend groups. So let's talk about specifically Black Whimsy. Black Whimsy and how I interpret it, and it goes beyond Black women whimsy, which is what I aspire to. I have a child who actually was making a joke with me last week about something I said to them. I was like, "Why are you doing this?" And they were like, "Don't tell me about my whimsy." And I was like, "Well, damn." And so they'll be 17 on Thursday, but I believe that Black whimsy is a weapon, and it's not something that we intentionally created to be so. I believe it is something that we use as a means of skirting around, or kind of like juking around what specifically white supremacy, patriarchy is attempting to reign over us. So, Black whimsy is just that. I am a Black millennial. I was of the generation of wearing blazers in the club. So we weren't too worried about being whimsical in the club. We dance, we dance. So you're gonna see a rack of people doing the percolator. I'm also from the South. So you're gonna see a rack of people doing a whole bunch of line dance. You're gonna see and they're not worried about how they look. My kid is Gen Z. They also are not worried about how they look, but there's a very specific contingent of Gen Z that is so averse to how they look, how they're going to be perceived by the public, that has been extended to the body politic. So now we are worried about showing up in places and being our full selves, because somebody got a phone out. Somebody gonna think that we're doing XYZ. Somebody gonna think, and it causes us to lose pieces of ourselves. So I'm happy to see that Black whimsy, one, was never lost. If anything, it has expanded. And it is a means of what's going to save us, because we no longer care about who sees us, who cares about what we're doing, who cares about what we're seeing. It's just us existing in this space. What pisses off people the most is us existing as we are fully, without their input, without somebody coming along and saying, well, you can't do that here, and you can't wear your hair like that, you can't do this, can't do that. What is pissing them off the most right now, and why they are going, I'm not going to say that is why they went out of their way to gut the VRA. It is, but a big part of it is Black people showed up to these spaces 60 plus years ago, being their full selves, walking into those spaces in their best, in their Sunday's best, coming into uh the the halls of spaces and the counters, and showed up as they were. They did not change their dialect. They may have added some code switching, because there was respectability a lot more than there is now. So they may have spoken in a way they may not speak to their people, the people they came with, but they were themselves. I was listening to a white political reader yesterday. She's like a spiritual reader yesterday, and she was this she was talking about how white people have lost their culture and the anger that a lot of them have towards us and POC that have a culture that either they cannot monopolize on, or they have tried to monopolize on it or have succeeded in monopolizing it, and now it's devoid of all the sauce, all the juice that came with it, because they came along and decided this is mine now, and took everything that made it beautiful away from it. So now they see us going to creating voter education events, or souls to the polls, or family reunion cookouts, or anything that has to do with a rack of Black people that are doing something culturally. They look at that with so much disdain, because one is whimsical. One, it is literally putting a little wand of Blackness onto something and making it magical by its own essence, by its own default. And they can't do that, because when you have created something off of subjugating of people, and that's all you ever do, when they people have the audacity to survive, and not only survive, build from that said subjugation. You can't do that. I can't believe these niggas keep doing stuff. Like, that's really what we are fighting against. That is what we are not even fighting against. That is what they're attempting to push against us. And we're like, all right, girl, we're gonna get out like last year. We're gonna keep going out here and popping these fans. I don't do what you want. You're not gonna bury us. You're not gonna you can't kill all of us. So we gonna go out here. We're gonna go to the function. We're gonna catch the flight. We're gonna hang with our friends. We're gonna go to brunch. We're gonna do all the things that we want to do, because if we're going to be on this land that a lot of us is the only land that we know. I'm from Virginia. The only land that I know innately, root wise, is Virginia. So we are going to create and build in that land what is safest for us. A little bit of a pivot, kind of. This has been already political, but a little bit more political. What a lot of people don't really understand, when people like myself, more and more Black people, fight for the right to vote, the right to be able to make your voice heard, goes beyond our ancestors died for it. A lot of people tend to brush it with this broad stroke of, oh, you care so much about this country. What a lot of other people are refusing to understand is that we don't give a damn about this country. We don't care about this country. If we are to take up space on this land because we have no choice, we don't know where we come from, we can't easily go back to a home. If my home is here and somebody is attempting to tell me that where I have dropped roots is not mine, I can't be here, I need to go back where I came from, and I don't know where that is, I'm going to fight for this land where I am, period. That don't mean I give a damn about this country, because a good chunk of us do not. And more and more Black millennials, because we've gone through so much, and this isn't a generational thing, but it's a very specific sort of trauma that Black millennials have experienced. And we are the last generation that had any semblance of real hope in anything that could potentially happen, even though we're also the generation of children left behind. And that goes beyond literacy, that goes beyond intentional attempting to leave generation behind. Because we know that, because we've been divorced from that very same hope a lot of us still carried with us, we've now gone more insular. We've now become, all right, because the people that I care about are also on this land, I'm going to make it as safe as possible for them. I'm going to make it as safe as possible for me while I still live here. Whether I'm on my way out or not, whether I decide to become a dual citizen, whether I decide to just expat and leave this joint no matter what, I'm going to ensure that whoever's behind me is safe in one way, shape, or form. That again has very little to do with having pride in this country, with wanting to be able to fight for this country. No, I want to be able to fight, and this is just me personally. I want to be able to fight so that when my child goes outside, they are not worried something could potentially happen to them because they're a queer Black child that do not always show up in the way that they were assigned at birth. They don't always identify and show proof of that identity in the way that they were born at birth. So I have a queer Black child. Somebody is already looking at that as some sort of negative, and it's not. It's the most positive thing as their mother that you can imagine. So the Black whimsical aspect of it is the audacity to keep living in a space that actively hates you and then building something beautiful. That is what Black American culture is. All this over here, cool. We're going to be over here doing this, and we might even throw some on the grill after or during. Like, that's really because what you're not going to take is the whimsy. You're not going to take our joy. You're not going to rip from us something that you did not give us. I did a video a couple of weeks ago about land back. Again, I'm from Virginia. I'm in Virginia currently. And where I currently live and where I grew up, so many people growing up with the Black elders that I grew up with, how they pronounce this name, everybody pronounced it differently. So I'm just going to pronounce it how I heard it growing up. And if whether this is continues to stay here or this goes on YouTube, if you can, I've heard it pronounced multiple times. I've done research about it. Every single person has been a different pronunciation. So Powhatan, that is a confederacy that I existed on growing up. That is the land that was that those were the people that the land originally belonged to. And so I did a video about how Black liberation and indigenous sovereignty go hand in hand. The whimsy that comes from both is what has caused so many of them to be in tizzies, because it's not something you can directly kill. If I can just kill it and get it out the way, I can pave the way to something else, and then the people, my descendants, never have to really think about it. And what's pissing off so many white Americans right now is they're being hit face to face with the thing that your ancestors, your elders, the ones that you still look at, your grandmas, your grandpas, your great uncles, and all them, they are still here. They fought to ensure you would never be able to fully see. And now you're being hit face to face with it. And it's not just a BLM tag. It's not another Black body in the street. You are hearing from people that look like you, telling you what's been the plan the entire time. And the people that knew it the entire time was us and indigenous people, because we've experienced it hand in hand. So one of the things that I said in that video was our history on this land and this land as their history both deserve protection. What I meant by that is I cannot take ownership of a land that was never mine to give or never mine to own. I can take up space on this land through a myriad of horrible instances that have taken place on this land. My family is from South Richmond. So the majority of us have our roots cross the water. So we are not West End, North Side, East End, Northern Virginia. We are primarily Richmond, Virginia, the south of Richmond, Virginia. And if you go farther down 95, you will encounter an island called Pocahontas Island. And it is home of one of the first Black, I believe, freed people in the South. And it's a very small island. And it's not lost on me that the island is called Pocahontas Island. So the whimsy of Native American indigenous culture and what was how it was reduced in a myriad of ways, in the same way with Black culture and how it's been reduced in so many ways. When you reduce something, you whether you mean it to or not, you make it stronger. When you reduce a sauce, you thicken it, you make it more potent. When you attempt to reduce a people, you make it stronger. You insulate it more, and you make them louder. You make them more intentional, and you make their whimsy inescapable because we have the audacity to keep living wherever it is our feet are. That's why land back should matter so much to Black people, and that's why Black people should continuously find the places where we were first here in this country. I can go to where the ships landed here in Richmond, Virginia, and find where my ancestors took their first steps. I can go there. Those things are really important. The worst nigga you know is telling you that it ain't that serious, but it is. And Black whimsy pisses them off so much because the joy that we have when we find our roots, when we find more and more about ourselves, when we learn more and more about ourselves, when we decide to go back to the land, when we get, I have a brown thumb. I've been able to keep these alive. It's been almost 3 years for this one, and I think almost a year for this one. A win is a win. I've been able to keep those two alive. I have a brown thumb. I used to have a black thumb. I've killed the cactus. I am learning what it's like to put my hands in the dirt. I'm a city kid. So even though my my culture is Southern country, I'm still a country city kid. So I didn't grow up with a garden. So I'm learning how to do that. I'm learning what it's like to plant certain things during certain seasons and what I want to grow and how I want to make it do what I needed to do and all these things. There's whimsy in that. There's a dance to that. There's orchestration in that. There is love and intention and all those things in that. I will never forget being out. I lived in Maryland for 5 years. I will never forget going to a lot of demonstrations during 2020, and I went to one in DC. And in the middle of that was a DJ. And that was when Black Lives Matter Plaza was just created, was just built. So it was brand new. People were so excited. They taking photos, all this stuff. I actually randomly was interviewed, which was pretty dope. And by National Geographic, which was even cooler. I'll post that here one day. But I'll never forget a young Black dude, had to be high school, was so mad because he was seeing elders dancing. I don't know why y'all out here dancing, but like they killing us in the street. He's loud, but anybody listening to him, including his friends, because they they kind of look at him like, okay. And he was so upset that they had gotten there to be doing a wobble in the middle of this newly crowned mural in what used to be Black Lives Matter Plaza. He was so mad. And I wanted to turn to him and go, but you must be new to your revolution, into your revolutionary ways. You must be brand new, like you just got radicalized, because you typically, when you first get radicalized, you are a hammer and everything is a nail. So you just ready to shout down everything because you just got yours. So you got to let everybody know that you just got yours. And so, so you getting mad that people are upset that they're at a demonstration. They're listening. They're watching people. I'm watching elders dancing, wearing masks because it was 2020. And they're holding canes and they dance to the wobble. They dance to the original electric slide. And there's a young dude that has no idea of the history. He just got hip to it, mad at them because they have the audacity to dance. And that is where people keep losing the plot. And the plot of that Black whimsy, Black joy is what continues to save us. And that's going to be the thing that ensures that we have the last laugh on this land, that we are able to continue to do the work that we have set out to do. My sister's on here right now. She a minister. She might help me. She gonna help me with this verse because I'm a butcher it because I'm no longer in Christianity. But haven't been in Christianity since 2017. Coming up on 10 years. Pretty cool. So people that are coming up against continuously coming up against strife and someone up and deciding that who you are, what you do, what you believe doesn't matter because it's not being done in the ways that they deem is fit. They deem is necessary. This dude just being so upset, but he couldn't figure out why he was mad. All he knew was that Black joy was not good enough. We need very similar to what's happening in 2026. Y'all need to be out in the street with us. Y'all need to do this. Y'all need to do that. They literally were on the street, but there was a DJ playing a song, so that doesn't count towards revolution, towards change. It had to be blood. It had to be bodies. It had to be souls ripped and funeral having and flowers bringing. It had to be that to prove to that Gen Z or who he was a young kid to prove to him that it was worth it, to prove to him that it was real. But Black joy and Black whimsy, that wasn't enough. So now we fast forward 6 years. And Black joy and Black whimsy is the thing that continues to piss people off. But now it's not pissing off us, it's pissing off them. Because you're not supposed to be happy. We are going out of our way to call y'all niggers on stream, to follow y'all down the street and call you all sorts of things, to make y'all feel uncomfortable in the spaces that you live, to call you out while you're driving, to make hell for you because we don't know what else to do with ourselves. All we know how to do is cause mayhem and chaos. That is all white culture is. Going back to the woman I was listening to her video, I'm trying hard not to continue laughing because it is funny when white people wake up to themselves and just go, I can't believe, like, it was that, and her being like, no, white, we have to get back to our culture. And I'm like, girl, what culture? What culture do black people do white people have outside of other people's? Like, I have a playlist called White People Singing in Cursive. Is that y'all culture? Because I love that playlist. Like, girl, give me Paramore and Linkin Park. That's y'all culture. I don't know why y'all left that culture and decided that y'all wanted to be what's the dude? Tommy Richmond? Like, Tommy Richmond? Like, it's Post Malone. Y'all decided y'all had a culture. That was your culture. And you decided that that wasn't good enough. We got to take from other people and then put it in our pockets and just make it worse. So her being like, we need to get back to our culture. We need to be like, the first ways that you get back to your culture is acknowledging the culture that you have created up to this point has been to the detriment of everybody else. That's how you get back to your culture. When you realize that your culture has been one of destruction. When you're able to face that and acknowledge that that is the reason why. You don't know where you're from. You don't know what land you go back to. You don't know the culture. The same things that y'all throw at us. And y'all can't create anything because it is taking from another culture. Rock and roll, country, soul, R&B, rap, hip hop. Y'all get upset at us because Beyonce is winning Cowboy Carter, a woman from Houston, Texas, with ancestry in Louisiana and Alabama. You're telling her that she's not country enough, but you took from those same roots of enslaved people and stole that, put a white face on it, and made the Grand Ole Opry and said, this is white culture. Every culture that you've ever had, if it's not from European descent, if it's born and bred in America, it came off the back of somebody that's darker than you. And then you get upset because these people have the audacity to keep living despite it, building new culture, and then insulating and blocking you from getting to know that new culture. The hard thing about social media, as somebody who works in social media, is it's harder and harder to gatekeep. Because we just want to be talking to our friend. We were like, girl, I went to Marshall's and picked up this thing, and and next thing we know, somebody in the comments taking notes. All of a sudden, you did it, and then all your hair fell out because it was never for you. And then they go and sell grandma's house, and then the things that were made for us are now made for y'all as well. So it don't work on us no more. Like I said, those are things that happen. And then you get upset that we gatekeep more and more. We keep taking back these things because Black people are a little too, Black American people specifically, are a little too accommodating. We are. And I think it's just because we like, girl, we here. Like I think that's the energy, but we've learned and continue to learn that no, you ain't supposed to know all this. The fact that Kevin Roberts, the founder of the Heritage Foundation, has, if not masters, doctorates in African American studies, just so he would know exactly how to attempt to destroy us. And there's always an argument about why y'all can't be in our spaces. Why you need an HBCU? Why you over here? The only one that we felt safe was to have in a HBCU was Marissa Tomei on that was it. And even then it was still like, what you doing here? What's the lady from My Cousin Vinny in here doing? But she was the only one that we felt safe being at Hillman, and she only lasted a season. So even in that regard, we are still like, we are more and more like, no, you don't belong in here because you have not proven yourself to be a safe person. I had a white woman say in a meeting once that Black community isn't really doing community work anymore. And I was like, it is not that Black people are not, specifically Black women, are not in community anymore. We are more intentional with who belongs in community, and that includes people that look like us. So don't you sit up here and say that Black women are not in community anymore. We absolutely are. But we are not doing it with people who have proven to be unsafe just because you got some name notoriety. If you don't hear about the functions, because you ain't supposed to be there. If you don't know what happened to the club, it's because they moved and didn't tell you. Like that poem that's going around right now about if you grew up with an angry Black man in the house, you're always going to have an angry Black man in the house. And that lady that came back and was like, if you are like, oh no, I've never had that, then you are the angry Black man. I mean, you are the angry man. That same type of thought process. That same type of thought process. The same way you look at angry Black men, angry Black women, angry all these other things. That same type of thought process of why are there no safe white people in here? And I'm one of the good ones. That's why. If you got to proclaim yourself to be one of the good ones, one of the safe ones, you are not. If you got to prove and every time talk about how much of an ally you are not. And you miss out on the whimsy because we are hiding it more. You don't see a lot of young black girls doing dance routines like talking about, like how they used to, because we watched the most mid white girls take from them and then bring her out like she a show pony to be like, see, look at her, just she, and still had to dance behind her. She couldn't have her moment by herself. Y'all still had to take the moment. We stopped seeing those things because we started to gatekeep. Because again, y'all would not have a culture if it did not include taking from us, peeking over here to see what we're doing. Let Kevin Roberts be somebody that you can look into and see exactly how he did that. Because he took all of that knowledge that he gained studying African American culture and used it to create Project 2025. And now the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, is all but null. Black Whimsy is what saves us and will continue to be what saves us, because Black Whimsy puts Blackness in all its elements, and the people in all of our identities, all of our gender expressions, all of the ways in which we show up in this country first. And that means having a good time in the midst of demolishing the things that have been used to try to kill us. I'm learning more and more about like black socialism, black anarchy, black communism. I'm learning more and more about those things because I want to know. I grew my entire family grew up left leaning. My dad, I would say, was more center left, but my mom for sure left. I grew up left. I continue. I'm farther left than both of my parents, but even in the midst of knowing what they did, what they created, Civil Rights Act, all these things, Civil Rights Movement, what isn't often taught to us in a way that is affirmed or affirming are those that were totally fine to bring hell and take everybody that was trying to cause hell to the community with them. So I'm learning more about those people. I'm learning more about those specific movements because we need to have a more fluid and balanced understanding of what to do when we think of bring all weapons to war. What does that look like? Because it's not just a physical thing. It's financial, it's creative, it's spiritual, it's metaphysical. It's all of those things. And those are, again, elements that we have been cut off from because they knew how powerful we were. That whimsy of a ring dance is nothing like it. That feeling of creating something from a hoodoo perspective, from active root work, that you are doing things with your hands. The blood and the bones of those that came before you, that you intrinsically know what to do because you're them and they're you. The joke we have about you season it until your ancestors tell you to stop, that goes beyond cooking. And that is Black whimsy. That is Black magic. Ain't nobody gonna take that from us. Ain't gonna happen. So I have supposed to be on the call at 2. But this was fun. If you enjoy this, if you would like me to do this more often, if you like the topics that I tend to talk about, continue to show up. Please leave some comments about if you enjoyed what I had to say. And this will live here, but it will also live on my YouTube as I edit it down to make sure that I have everything I want to say on it. Because YouTube is a little more precious about what they want people to say. So thank you for coming to Hyperfixations Updated Daily, the live/podcast where my hyperfixations may update daily, but I do not. So I hope to keep this going. And until next time, I will see y'all later.